Rain poured down like punishment from the heavens as Alina stumbled toward the glittering entrance of the Grand Monarch Hotel. Her cheap heels slipped on the marble steps, the hem of her thrifted blue dress heavy with water. Her umbrella had broken 2 streets back, and now, soaked to the bone, she felt as though the universe itself was mocking her. Inside, through the golden glass doors, everything shimmered: chandeliers, sequined gowns, champagne flutes. The annual Knight Enterprises Charity Gala. It was supposed to be the event of the season, where the rich came to show off their wealth by pretending to care about the poor. People like her. She almost turned back, almost. Then she saw him, Ethan. He stood near the bar, laughing that same easy, confident laugh she used to love. The woman beside him was perfection: silk dress, diamond earrings, polished smile. The kind of woman who didn't need to check her bank account before ordering dinner. Ethan looked happier than ever. Free, untouched by the wreckage he'd left behind when he walked out on her, calling her too ordinary, too much struggle, not enough for the life he wanted. Her throat tightened. She could have disappeared right then, melted into the rain outside, but pride kept her frozen. She'd spent 2 years trying to rebuild herself, to believe she was worth something. And yet, one glance at Ethan's smug grin had shattered that fragile illusion. Then a voice, smooth and deep, cut through the noise behind her. "You shouldn't stand in the doorway like that. You'll block the view." Alina turned and nearly gasped. Adrian Knight, the CEO, the host of the gala, the man whose signature could buy or bury entire companies. In person, he was sharper than the tabloids ever managed to capture. Tall, immaculate, eyes the color of storm clouds. He was watching her not with disdain, but with a kind of detached curiosity, like he was trying to figure out why a drowned kitten had wandered into his empire. Sorry, she stammered, stepping aside. His gaze flicked over her drenched dress, her trembling hands. "You're not on the guest list." "I know," she swallowed. "I just needed to see someone." "Your ex," he said flatly. Her head snapped up. "How did you?" He tilted his glass, a hint of amusement tugging at his mouth. "You've been staring at him for the last full minute. You might as well have screamed it." She felt he'd rushed to her face. "You're right, I should go." She turned to leave, but stopped halfway through the door. Something reckless surged through her. Maybe it was humiliation, maybe heartbreak, maybe the sheer, unbearable need not to look weak one more time in front of the man who had broken her. She spun back toward Adrian. "Wait," she said, her voice trembling but desperate. Can you do something for me?" He raised an eyebrow. "That depends on the something." "Act like you love me," she whispered. "Please, just for tonight." The words tumbled out before she could take them back. She didn't even know what she was asking. Just that if Ethan saw her with someone like Adrian Knight, maybe she could walk away with her head high for once. Adrian's expression didn't change for a long, unbearable moment. Then he set down his drink and took a slow step toward her. The air shifted, colder, heavier. "Why?" His voice was low, dangerous. "Why would I do that?" "Because he's here," she said, glancing toward Ethan. "And I can't let him think I'm still broken." A pause. Then, "You think pretending with me will fix that?" "No," she said, voice cracking. "But maybe it'll help me forget." Something flickered in his eyes, something unreadable. Then, unexpectedly, his hand lifted. His thumb brushed away a raindrop, or was it a tear, from her cheek. "Very well," he murmured. "But understand something, Miss Alina," she breathed. "Alina Rowe, Miss Rowe." His tone darkened. "When I act, I don't pretend halfway." Before she could ask what that meant, he slid his arm around her waist, pulling her against him in one smooth, practiced motion. Heat shot through her body. Heads began to turn. Whispers spread like wildfire through the ballroom. Ethan's laughter died mid-breath. Adrian leaned closer, his breath brushing her ear. "Smile," he whispered. "You're in love, remember?" Alina tried, her lips trembling. Cameras flashed. Someone gasped her name. Her pulse raced so fast she could barely breathe. "Mr. Knight," one of the reporters called out. "Is this the woman you mentioned in your interview last week? The one who changed your perspective on love?" Adrian smirked. "Yes," he said simply. The room erupted. Questions flew. Lights flashed. Alina could barely keep up. Adrian guided her through the chaos with an easy confidence that almost made her believe it was real. When they finally reached a quiet corner, she turned to him, heart pounding. "You didn't have to say that." He shrugged. "You asked me to act." She frowned. "But now they'll think." "Let them." His gaze pinned her. "He's watching, isn't he?" Alina glanced across the room. Ethan's face was pale, his jaw tight. He looked like a man who'd just swallowed poison. "Yes," she whispered. "Good." Adrian's lips curved slightly. "Then I've done my part." He started to pull away, but something inside her panicked. She caught his wrist. "Wait. Just stay." For a little longer. His eyes softened almost imperceptibly. "You're not used to asking for help, are you?" She looked away. "Help usually costs more than I can afford." For a second, silence. Then his voice, low and dangerous again. "Maybe I like your kind of currency." Her head jerked up. "What do you mean?" He leaned closer, his mouth near her ear. "The truth. The kind that doesn't come wrapped in money." Her breath caught. No one had ever said something like that to her, not someone like him. Before she could respond, he reached into his pocket and handed her a card. "Call me when you're ready to stop pretending." Then, just like that, he walked away, leaving her standing in the corner, her heart racing, her ex glaring from across the ballroom, and her fingers clutching the name Adrian Knight embossed in gold. For the first time in years, Alina didn't feel small. She didn't feel broken. She felt seen. And that terrified her more than anything else. The ballroom glittered like a dream she could never afford to have. Gold chandeliers hung from the ceiling, violins hummed softly from the corner, and the guests, all in silk, diamonds, and arrogance, sipped champagne worth more than her monthly rent. Maren Hayes didn't belong here. Not tonight. Not ever. Her hands were still raw from scrubbing dishes that morning. The faint scent of detergent clung to her skin, no matter how much she'd tried to wash it away. She'd been part of the catering staff at this annual charity gala for the past 3 years. But this year, things were different. This year, she wasn't carrying trays, she was carrying a lie. The gown she wore wasn't hers. A friend from the hotel's lost and found had slipped it to her, whispering, "Go, Maren. For once, just go inside. Pretend." So she had. And for a fleeting moment, as the golden lights reflected off her borrowed dress, she almost felt like she belonged. Until she saw him. Lewis Carter. Her ex. The man who had promised forever, then left her for someone with a higher social class and a lighter bank account. Her chest tightened. She told herself she didn't care anymore, but her heart hadn't gotten the memo. Then, as if fate itself were playing a cruel joke, Lewis' gaze found hers. His smile faltered, just for a moment, before he leaned closer to his date, whispering something that made her laugh like wind chimes. Maren's pulse quickened. She needed to get out. Right now. But before she could turn away, her heel caught on the edge of the carpet, and, crash. A tray of glasses toppled from a waiter's hand right beside her, shattering into a rain of crystal shards and champagne. Every head turned. Maren froze, mortified. I'm so sorry." "It's fine," a deep voice said behind her. She spun around, and found herself staring straight into the cool gray eyes of Damien Vale. The Damien Vale, billionaire CEO, tech genius, every business magazine's favorite obsession. He bent down, picked up a fallen glass, and handed it to a waiter without breaking eye contact. There was something about his presence, controlled, dangerous, like a storm waiting to happen, that made the air shift around him. "You're not hurt," he said. It wasn't a question. She shook her head quickly. "No, I just tripped." His gaze flicked over her dress, her trembling hands, the faint blush coloring her cheeks. Then a faint smile touched his lips, sharp and knowing. "You don't look like the type to trip easily." "I'm full of surprises," she muttered, trying to walk away. But he stepped in her path, his voice low. "Don't." She blinked. "Don't what?" "Run." Her throat went dry. "I'm not." "You are," he interrupted, his tone quiet but certain. "From someone." His eyes flicked to the far side of the ballroom, right where Lewis was watching. Her heart stuttered. "He's not worth mentioning." "Then why does your face say otherwise?" "Because," she whispered, voice breaking, "he's the man who taught me that being poor isn't just about money, it's about never being enough." Damien's gaze lingered on her for a moment, unreadable. Then he said softly, "You shouldn't let men like that define you." She let out a shaky laugh. "Easy for you to say, Mr. Vale. You've never had to beg to be seen." Something flickered in his expression. "You think I've never begged for anything?" Before she could respond, Louis started walking toward them, his fiancée's hand looped possessively through his arm. The mocking smirk on his lips was enough to make her stomach twist. Panic surged through her. Without thinking, she turned back to Damien. "Please," she whispered, desperate. "Can you do something for me?" He studied her face carefully, almost as if he already knew what she was about to ask. "What kind of something?" "Act like you love me," she said, voice trembling. "Just for tonight." The words felt foolish the second they left her mouth. But they were out there now, hanging between them like a dare. For a heartbeat, silence. Then his mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "You're asking a very dangerous man to play pretend." "Then pretend well," she said. "Please." He held her gaze a moment longer, then slowly reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. His touch was warm, deliberate. "If we're going to do this," he murmured, "we do it right." And before she could process what was happening, his arm slid around her waist, drawing her close. Her breath hitched. He leaned in, lowering his head until his lips brushed her temple. "Smile," he whispered. "He's watching." She forced a grin. Small, shaky, but real. Cameras flashed. Someone gasped. Ethan froze mid-laugh. His eyes flicked toward them, confusion flashing across his face. Noah glanced at Sophie, voice low. "He's watching. You might want to smile." She forced a grin. Small, shaky, but real. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" "A little," he admitted, lips twitching. "You make it easy." Her cheeks warmed, but she didn't pull away. Not even when Noah's thumb brushed over her knuckles in a gesture so gentle it didn't feel fake at all. After a few minutes, Ethan stood abruptly, muttered something to his date, and left the restaurant. Sophie exhaled shakily, her shoulders sagging with relief. "I can't believe that actually worked." Noah released her hand, leaning back. "You're welcome." She smiled sheepishly. "I owe you big time." He shrugged lightly. "Call it a free favor." For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. The tension that had hung heavy over the table now felt softer, almost pleasant. Then Noah leaned forward, his expression gentler now. "You shouldn't let people like him make you feel small." Sophie blinked. "What?" "I saw how you looked when you noticed him," he said. "Like you were apologizing for existing." "Don't." Her throat tightened. "It's not that easy." "I didn't say it was," he said quietly. "But start with this. Stop apologizing for being the kind of person who feels things deeply. That's not a weakness." Sophie stared at him, momentarily speechless. "You really are good at this pretending thing." He smiled faintly. "Who says I'm pretending?" Her heart skipped. "You don't even know me." "Not yet." Something in his tone, steady, certain, made her stomach flutter. When the waiter brought their food, Noah changed the subject, asking about her work. He didn't interrupt. He didn't condescend. He just listened, nodding like every word mattered. By the end of lunch, she'd forgotten all about Ethan. As they stood to leave, Noah reached for his coat. "For the record," he said, eyes glinting with quiet humor, "if you ever need someone to fake date you again, my rates are very reasonable." She laughed softly. "And what's your rate, exactly?" "Dinner," he said simply. "No pretending." Her smile faltered, not from fear, but from something that felt dangerously close to hope. She looked up at him. "You don't have to do that." "I know," he said, holding her gaze. "But I want to." And as she walked out of the restaurant beside him, sunlight spilling across the sidewalk, Sophie realized the strangest thing of all. For once, it didn't feel like she was acting either.